initiative of our times, not least on the streets of this country.
Yeah. Well done, Dean.
My Lords, I too want to begin by expressing great thanks to Lord Ahmed for the grace, wisdom and fortitude with which he has led us in this debate, and welcome the consensus that I've heard across the chamber from all sides. I too, like others, have learnt so much this evening. I also want to echo what the Archbishop of Canterbury said earlier. I too deeply mourn and cry out for all those who've been brutally murdered in this conflict, and rightly note the duty of Israel to guard and defend her citizens, and yet at the same time cry out on behalf of the innocent in every community and appeal for a peace with justice. Like Lord Godson, who we just heard from, actually I wanted to say a little bit about an element of this that we haven't discussed that much in this debate, which is the impact of all this here in our own country and how this in turn affects the world. We are, as we know, a global community living in an age of instant communication. Our interconnectedness means that this conflict is felt deeply across the world and directly affects communities here in the UK, and immediately, and of course especially, Jewish and Muslim communities. And there are, of course, personal consequences. We have very movingly heard about some of those for some of us here in this chamber. But even if we don't know people ourselves, we know people who are related to those in Israel and Palestine who have lost loved ones, livelihoods, homes, even those who are still being held hostage. But at the same time, the unfiltered platform that social media allows to extremist voices is making this situation worse, creating an atmosphere of palpable fear. This came up in the questions earlier today, and it is something we urgently need to address. It has no place in our democracy. And as several noble lords have said, Lord Harrington, Lord Billamora, Lord McRae, a moment ago, Lord Godson, anti-Semitism and indeed Islamophobia are on the rise, but particularly anti-Semitism, senseless and pointless attacks on Jewish community buildings, on schools, on individuals, all have increased, and as we've heard, the statistics are truly frightening. But up and down the country, and built up over many, many years, we do have, across our nation, a very strong network of regional faith forums, many of which I have been involved with, as have almost all the bishops on these benches. And yet, I hear that a number of them, while relationships continue, are struggling to agree joint statements or hold vigils for peace because it is all too raw and emotions are running so high, and because there are still so many unhelpful voices around. However, some have taken place, and this, I believe, is a vital, vital sign of hope and something that we must build on. And so although, like Lord Godson, I abhor the hateful voices, I also want to pay tribute to women and men from across our faith communities, and I'm thinking especially of Muslim and Jewish leaders that I know who are working courageously to lead through this time and at considerable personal cost. There are really inspiring examples of this happening across the north, in Leeds, in Bradford, and in other places where I serve. And I'm thinking here of teachers, pastors, priests, youth workers, community workers, who are nurturing the values that we hold dear and caring for one another and building community across strong difference. We need to be clear. How individuals and communities act here and now, today, tomorrow, in this country, will shape and influence what happens next in the coming years and for the years ahead. Which also means that what we say here, our statements, our policies, and our prayers, both in content and tone, matter. And I note particularly Baroness Deitch's comments earlier about the need to renew our religious education, and particularly education around the Holocaust. So while, of course, we must condemn utterly those who foster fear and hatred in our communities, we also need to galvanise and support those who at the local level are modelling something different and seeking the way of peace. Finally, in the last couple of weeks, I have noticed two things. First, that human blood is red. Jewish blood, Muslim blood, Christian blood. And secondly, like the ocean, tears are salt water. And the flood levels are rising. And unless we pay attention, both internationally and at home, to the things that make for peace, unless we are clear about the evils we face, about the need to strengthen international law to make safe passage, then we might be overwhelmed. Therefore, locally, could I ask the Minister what efforts are being made to support those at the local level who are working for community cohesion and are busy making peace?
My Lords, it is a privilege to follow the Most Reverend Primate, the Archbishop of York,